2026 regulations and rules. By the way, a lot of people are calling the 2026 regulations as Pirelli regulations, as he is playing a major role in making engineers and drivers weep. His feedback and tyre designs have helped the FIA to come up with 2026 regulations to make F1 more chaotic and dramatic. It seems like Pirelli loves the GP2 engine meme and wants more like it in the future. Car size and weight. In 2026, Formula One cars are finally going on a long overdue crash diet, and not the kind where you skip lunch and call it weight saving. We're talking 100mm narrower, 200mm shorter, and 30 kilograms lighter. That's like trimming off a medium-sized dog and a coffee table. The new cars will weigh 768 kilograms down from the current 798 kilograms, and the wheelbase will shrink from 3.6 meters to 3.4 meters, which should finally let drivers take corners without needing a three-point turn. And yes, before you ask, Nicholas Latifi could still crash them, but at least now it'll happen at a slightly lower weight. The goal is better agility, particularly on tighter tracks like Monaco, where in recent years F1 cars have looked like stretch limos trying to parallel park. Remember when Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen nearly recreated a demolition derby at Monza 2021 with Max's Red Bull parking itself on top of Lewis's Mercedes? Part of that mess was the sheer bulk of the cars. They're so long and wide they practically need a co-driver with a map. That's why Lewis Hamilton still believes that cars are heavy, even after they shed 30 kilograms. The man is still having nightmares of his 2021 disaster and doesn't want a repeat of it in this lifetime. But the 2026 downsizing means less bargeboard ballet, more racing, and fewer incidents where drivers need a forklift to unstick themselves. Add in smaller Pirelli tyres and lighter gearboxes, and we might finally get cars that feel less like freight trains and more like fighter jets. But if you ask Charles Leclerc, he has clearly said that he is not enjoying his new 2026 F1 car after trying it out on his simulators. Lando Norris also nodded his head, agreeing to Charles Leclerc's complaints. Aerodynamics regulations. New aerodynamics regulations are Formula One's latest attempt to make cars stop behaving like flying ironing boards stuck in a wind tunnel. First, let's talk numbers. We're getting 30% less downforce and a whopping 55% less aerodynamic drag. That's like sending your car to a spa and it coming back saying, "I don't feel like cornering at 5G anymore, but I sure glide down the straights." As usual, Leclerc is pouting and complaining that the car is slow and underwhelming in corners. Lance Stroll is also feeling sad with him, along with Alex Albon, who is still confused and staring at his prototype with a defeated expression. But the FIA are focused on their goal: better racing, fewer dirty air complaints on the radio, and hopefully fewer races where the only battle is between a driver and his engineer about tyre degradation. The front wing is getting narrowed and simplified to just 3 elements. A minimalist approach that says, yes, we race at 300 kilometers per hour, but we like clean aesthetics too. The rear wing goes triple element with movable bits. But wait, this isn't just old school DRS slapped on with duct tape. Haha, no. Welcome to X mode and Z mode, which sound more like Mortal Kombat characters than aero strategies. X mode reduces drag on straights, so the car can yeet itself forward, while Z mode gives you that juicy downforce in corners so you don't slide off like Vettel in Hockenheim 2018. The best part is that these modes are driver controlled, so no more waiting for a 1-second gap. It's like giving every driver their own Mario Kart boost button. Other throwbacks and cleanups include the return of front and rear wing end plates, no more lower beam wings, a simplified floor, and even a partial return to flat floors. Yes, just like in the pre-2022 days when overtaking wasn't impossible unless someone forgot to brake. Combined, these changes should massively reduce turbulent air, making it easier to follow without your front wing exploding into sadness after half a lap. So now, when a driver gets within half a second, they won't have to scream, "I'm stuck in his dirty air," but they'll just press a button and fly past like it's Silverstone 2022 all over again, hopefully without Zhao Guanyu doing backflips. Barge boards are back. Officially, they're now called in-wash generating fins, which sounds like something you'd find in a dishwasher manual. But let's not kid ourselves, they're barge boards with a PR makeover. Mandated for all teams, these fins are returned to help manage airflow around the front tyres, which are basically giant turbulence-generating balloons strapped to the front of every F1 car. Remember how barge boards were banned in 2022 to clean up the airflow and stop teams from building aerodynamic origami under their side pods? Well, the FIA has realised that without something redirecting air, tyre wake becomes the equivalent of farting into a wind tunnel. Messy, chaotic, and terrible for the car behind. These inwash fins are designed to redirect that wake inward, smoothing out the flow so cars can follow more closely without choking on dirty air like it's Hungary 2021 and someone forgot how to brake. Of course, teams won't get total creative freedom, no bringing back the insane 2018-style spiky knife racks that look like a Transformer's ribs. The designs will be limited, but expect every aero department to still spend millions sculpting the most efficient rectangle of carbon fibre since barge boards were last legal. Beefed up roll hoops. Remember Zhou Guanyu's horror crash at Silverstone 2022? Yeah, the one where his car flipped upside down, skated along the tarmac like it was ice dancing, and then somersaulted into the fence, nearly hitting the grandstand? Well, that crash revealed a massive flaw. His roll hoop completely failed. The roll hoop is supposed to be the car's helmet, the part that keeps the driver's head off the ground if it flips. So yeah, not ideal when it snaps off like a cheap lawn chair. Now in 2026, the FIA has upgraded these hoops to handle much higher vertical and lateral loads, with added anti-burrowing features so the car doesn't dig into the ground like a spade during a rollover. In other words, if a car flips now, it's less likely to do gymnastics and more likely to keep the driver alive without using the halo as the only life-saving feature. Stronger anti-intrusion panels. It was in Hungary in 2009 when Felipe Massa, Ferrari's golden boy at the time, was blazing through qualifying. He was busy when a rogue suspension spring, just a chunk of metal weighing barely a pound, flew off Rubens Barrichello's Brawn GP car ahead of him. It bounces down the track like a death-seeking tennis ball and then slams directly into Massa's helmet at nearly 160 miles per hour. It resulted in Massa knocking out instantly. His car went straight into the tyre barrier at full speed, resulting in skull fracture and eye damage. He was in a coma. The world collectively gasped, not just because it was terrifying, but because something so small could do so much damage. The spring wasn't even meant to come loose, but it did, and it had no trouble punching through what was supposed to be a safe cockpit. And that is why the FIA has said never again. In 2026, the FIA is bulking up the cockpit walls with enhanced carbon fibre composite layers, purpose-built to absorb or deflect intruding parts. These panels are now like the riot shields of Formula 1, tough, light, and ready to stand between a driver and any loose cannon car part trying to reenact the Felipe Massa incident. Part 2. Whether it's a wishbone flying off in a T-bone crash, a wing end plate doing acrobatics mid-collision, or a spring going full sniper mode, the goal is simple. Keep all that trauma outside the driver's survival cell. These stronger panels make sure the cockpit stays sacred. It's like saying, debris, you can break the car, but you're not touching the pilot. And now, with helmets, halos, and anti-intrusion panels all forming a fortress, the 2026 driver will practically be the Pope in a carbon fibre Pope-mobile. 2-stage car crash structure. In Formula 1, it's not the first crash that gets you, but it's the second one when your car's already in pieces and someone else decides to yeet their car into yours at 200 kilometers per hour. Enter the 2026 2-stage front crash structure. The ultimate double airbag for your $1 million missile. Here's how it works. The first impact structure, like the current one, absorbs the initial smack, whether it's a wall at turn 1 or a teammate who thought dive bombing from Pluto was a good idea. But now, there's a second structure hidden just behind the first, designed to handle any follow-up hits. This is especially crucial in modern races, where multi-car pile-ups are practically a feature, not a bug, especially in wet races, sprint starts, or whenever someone named Nikita Mazepin entered turn 1. Back in the day, a second hit could easily turn a bad crash into a career-ending one. Now, the car itself absorbs both punches, letting the driver crawl out with a sore neck and a few sarcastic radio messages. It means Spa 2026 is going to be really thrilling. Do bring your popcorn there, F1 community. Power unit changes. Formula 1's 2026 power unit rules are basically saying, let's go green, but make it fast. First up, fossil fuels are out. Teams must now run on bio-directed synthetic fuel, which means no more pumping ancient dinosaur juice into a turbocharged V6. This isn't just a nod to sustainability, it's a full-on handshake with the future. And, in a dramatic twist, the MGUK, that complicated little heat-recovering gizmo no one really liked anyway, is being scrapped. Say goodbye to turbo lag magic and hello to simplicity. And fewer headaches for engine manufacturers. Now, the electric side of the power unit gets a superhero glow-up. The MGUK will produce a whopping 350 kilowatts, more than double what we've got now. That's like strapping a Tesla to the rear axle and hitting boost. The new setup introduces electro boost, essentially turning F1 cars into rocket-powered go-karts during acceleration. With smarter energy deployment and recovery, drivers will now have to manage their electric juice strategically. setting up some spicy overtakes and possibly some very dramatic battery whines over team radio. I mean, Lance Stroll has already started complaining about this new change, claiming that F1 is becoming all about battery science rather than the peak excitement sport it is supposed to be. What are your thoughts about these new rules and regulations? Do you agree with drivers or the FIA? Share with me in the comments section.